2026 is officially underway, and the West Asia Premiership has wasted no time asking some big questions. Bahrain sent a statement again, 60 points, undefeated, making it very clear that coming to Bahrain and getting a result is about as hard as it gets. Meanwhile, others are still searching for answers. Sharks slipping out of the top floor, Harlequins still wrestling with their identity, and discipline continuing to hurt teams across the league. Doha have had the bye week, and they should have been watching closely. The standard is set, and they'll need to meet it fast. This episode is brought to you, as always, by our partners Yalla Sports and FFP Sports. Make sure you're following them both on Instagram, as well as us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get straight into the show. The Women's Sevens tournament in Abu Dhabi delivered another strong statement about where the women's game is headed in the region. Competitive, fast, and full of emerging talent. We'll start off with the A-League. The format was simple and unforgiving. It is a round robin, 4 games each, with the team finishing on the highest points, crowned champions. No finals, no second chances. Consistency is everything. With that, the Abu Dhabi Harlequins took out their home tournament after backing up from the Sevens. They went 4 from 4, and they scored around 30 points each game with great consistency. Their composure, structure, and clinical finishing is what stood them out. It was a deserved result and a clear reflection of the depth and development within their program. The Dubai Hurricanes finished close behind with 3 wins from 4, only struggling against the Quins. They were convincing against all other teams, but it must be noted they were missing a few key players still. Phoenix then picked up 2 wins. Cones recorded 1, and Maha unable to register a victory on the day, but an important tournament yet to continue to see their growth and strength, and they will keep building. The B League produced some important storylines as well. So first of all, shout out to the Sharks ladies. They travelled with 7 girls, managed to pick up their first win. No subs, so real good credit to them. And also to the Exiles women who were playing and trying to raise awareness for cervical cancer. So well done to those girls. It's all important work. But for the standouts, the winner of the B League was the Abu Dhabi Bats. They won, and then they played Maha in the playoff and won that. So next tournament, I think it's on the 31st. The Abu Dhabi Bats will move up to the A League and Maha down into the B, leaving Abu Dhabi with 2 teams in that league. Now, individually, there were some standout players. Harlequins, Georgia Barber scored 6 tries, stand out through the tournament. She's so consistent. Her strength in both attacking and defense is commended, and that's why we always see her running out for the UAE as well. One girl who we don't see running out for the UAE, and maybe we should, is Emma Fern. She got her 100 caps with her captain on the weekend, so they were gifted that by the Harlequins, and she stood out in the tournament, really showing great strength. She's a winger turned forward. Her line-out wins and just work around the park is outstanding. So maybe she's someone who will be looking at UAE success soon. And then there was an up-and-comer, 5-try scorer, young gun Rafi, only 18 years old. She was a standout for the Quins as well. So well done, Rafi. For the Canes, probably the 2 biggest standouts were Becca at scrum half. She was controlled yet pacey all day, so managed to exploit weaknesses where they were. And as Pariso, her strength breaks that line all the time, and she is hard to deal with, lots of bump offs and lots of big tackles, so it's a thrill to watch them play. Overall, the tournament underlined the positive direction of women's rugby in the region, and we will get to see another tournament in a couple of weeks. So if this is the current standard, the ceiling for women's rugby in the region is only getting higher, and that is exactly where it should be. Okay, we are going to head into our guest segment. So here is my interview with Mike Wernham, DOR of the Canes. Now, this was our second attempt at the interview. I drove down to Dubai the week before, but my device had turned off after 6 minutes. So we redid it. There might be a little bit of background noise because it was a noisy day down at Sevens. It was just before the Hurricanes Quins game, but all is good. So Today we are here with the Director of Rugby from the Dubai Hurricanes, Mike Wernham. We're going to have a big chat about all things rugby in the UAE. Welcome, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers, mate. No, good to catch up.
Now, before we get in, the Dubai Hurricanes is one of the biggest sporting clubs in the UAE. Other than rugby, what makes the Hurricanes so good and so big?
Yeah, I think it's the new avenues that we've added to the club. So our netball is absolutely booming, so much so that we're actually unfortunately having to turn people away at times at certain age groups. Cricket is still in its development stages, but we do play competitive cricket. And yeah, we're quite often are contacted for various sports. There's flag football that's happening here. There's baseball that's happening here. We're talking now about athletics and basketball. So we're always keen to try and bring more things into it because that helps develop the club overall, really. It gives people more opportunities in different sports.
Yeah, and you are one of the biggest clubs in the UAE. You have 3 senior teams, a Colts team, and a plethora of junior teams. Around roughly how many players are we talking about in the club?
Just for rugby?
Yeah.
For rugby, I think the last time I checked, we were at 820 or so.
And I shouldn't forget you've got a couple of women's teams as well.
Our women's, yeah. We've got 2 senior women's teams. Our under-16 girls, we've got about 3 teams. It could probably be more. And then we've got our under-18 girls, which are their 2 teams as well.
Yeah, so it's a huge club. And how old is the club at the moment?
You're putting me up. We did our 25th anniversary last year.
So about 26 years.
Year, yeah. That one was easy.
Yeah. So you've been growing since, and last year there was huge amounts of success, especially at the top level. What other than those wins, what else will define success for you as the DOR for the rugby club as a whole?
I think on a basis, first and foremost, it's our numbers of volunteers. It's making sure people that are in effect get nothing in return financially, making sure that they're consistently happy and keep adding to that. Because without the volunteers, the club doesn't work. Our medics, our coaches, the managers and the generic supporters, the taxi drivers of the parents, as long as them numbers stay strong, then we know we can offer and we know that we can continue to provide for our clients, but our family members more so. Coach education, making sure our numbers of coaches continue with at least level 1. Medics having the correct and up-to-date legislation, qualifications, whatever you want to call it. For me, the big part is, as always, is participation numbers.
Yeah.
Not just membership, but how many kids are actually getting to play, enter competitions, how many teams were actually entering into competitions. So for me, as DOR of the club, yes, getting something shiny at the end of the year is always lovely, don't get me wrong, but it's not the be all and end all. As long as we can continue to provide for our members, that's my main goal.
Yeah, and look, today we're at the Mini and Youth Festival.
Yeah.
You can hear the music pumping in the background. Hopefully, you shouldn't be able to hear too much in the interview. How's today gone?
Yeah, amazing. You know, the both car parks were basically shut because of the amount of people that are here to support and play. It was an early start, but again, I don't know why, but it still surprises me. One, the numbers, when we talk about this sport and how people say that it's not growing enough, it doesn't attract enough sponsorship, etc. But the amount of kids that are turning out to play, the amount of people that still keep turning up to support, admittedly it's their kids, but we're still getting attentions. I don't know if you're doing a bit outside, but you can see all the different sponsors and all of their activations outside. We're here again tomorrow for the older age groups. I think it's under 13s up. There's a lot going on. It's been a brilliant day, and hopefully I'm not too pink on camera.
Look, both of us are faces made for radio, but we'll do it anyway. Look, we'll talk about the senior men. The women won the cup last year, the 15s final last year.
Yeah.
So they had some success as well after a dogged year. And then the men, probably the same. They'd had not the best season they'd ever had, but at the end, just brilliant. How was that, and what brought that about?
Unbelievable season. Like all in all, like on finals day last year, our Colts, boys and girls, the ladies obviously doing the business in the 15s, and then the men in the West Asia final. So on that level, we have had some amazing success, but genuinely, it was a real slow start for us. We had some mixed bag results across the board here, not just talking about the men's ones. things happen during a season. You know, unfortunately, the turnover in Dubai, people leave, new people come in. Injuries can happen in this game that we play. So it's kind of like with the coaches, as I always sort of say to them, just make sure they keep coming back. If they leave and a new job opportunity comes, or it's not worked out for them wherever, as long as they think about the Canes first and foremost, then you're going to have the right DNA around that team and around that section. For us, the season, if you're talking about the men's in particular, like you couldn't have writ it. Like both games, Exiles in the Premiership final, we were done dead and buried at half time. We won. Bahrain, slow start again, really good contest, kept crawling back, and then obviously the try at the end to win that. So in terms of viewing, amazing for a neutral, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
In terms of being the DOR of the club, yeah, I took 5 years off my lifespan last year, and that's for sure.
Now, as DOR, your current DOR, you've actually had a few hats on at the club.
Yeah.
You've gone through a few of the coaching roles. Talk to us about all the roles you've had at this club.
Yeah, so I joined the Canes 10 years ago as, in effect, the forwards coach and the second team head coach. That was in August, and then January, the DOR position came available, men's head coach. So I was doing both jobs. At the same time, my teaching career at the time, got some responsibility there. So after about 2 or 3 years, it was too much for one man on his own to be able to do, wearing too many hats. So that's when we changed the structure. We brought in a head coach. I went to the DOR over the whole club. Our mini and youth responsibilities as with the chairman, Flavio, who's our mini and youth coach education coordinator. So just started to separate because the numbers were growing, especially at mini and youth. And the mini and youth is the crucial part for any club. That's your main basis of your club, your foundation. So yeah, today DOR, very limited in terms of actual hands-on with the senior men. A lot more of the organisation, working with the coaches, selection, and the normal sort of like operations for the club, really.
Yeah. Now, it was about 3 years ago, the club's gone through a bit of a rough time.
Yeah.
Dropped out of the Prem, obviously rose back to winning it, the whole thing last year. Can you talk us through that journey?
Yeah, so I mean, not just us, everyone and every sport. COVID hit us really, really hard. And in particular, you can't play this game without front row. And we didn't have a front row. It wasn't an easy decision. We waited and we waited. And I remember the phone call and basically just saying to the boys, unfortunately, this is the position we're in. We're not going to enter into a league to then all of a sudden be forfeiting games. That's not what we're about. I've always hated the word forfeit. We will always do our best to not be in that position. So that year in particular, when we went down, obviously we had success in winning the division, but we also had, with all due respect to our positions, we had a lot of time to bleed in front row players. We had a lot of time to start scanning around and putting the net out to try and recruit new guys, whether they were in the country or whether they were abroad. Got sponsors back on board to be able to find jobs for these people. Work on, like, not contracts, but negotiations for apartments and supporting with accommodation, getting to know the family members that little bit more, because you couldn't sit down in a room during COVID, you know? It was hard to get people and then people's confidence to actually sit down and talk face to face. So it took a while. We were lucky that obviously we got through the Division 1 season pretty unscathed with our front row. The year after, obviously back to the Premiership, we made the Prem final where we lost to Dragons, but I think that put us in really good stead to know that we could be there or thereabouts again. And a lot more attention came our way, a lot more players were hitting us up, and it's still like, honestly, every day, and I'm sure we're not the only club, but every day there's a CV that's attacked.
I've received 3 today as a Rugby Offload podcast.
Yeah, there you go. And it's not just the senior men's. There's women's that are doing it as well now.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of naivety. People still think that we're a professional league. They're going to get visas, insurance, accommodation, and a wage. That's absolutely not the case. None of our players get paid to play.
Yeah.
None of them are employed by the club. They coach mini and youth. They get a coaching fee as the same flat rate for everyone. So we're always willing to accept applications or CVs, and we try and do the best that we can. We look at our roster. Where are we a little bit light? Where would be good to strengthen? We take their CV, we send it around our network, and if we've got successful with a bite, we get a new player.
Yeah, and one of your big recruits in that time was probably Ruan Steenkamp.
Yep.
He was a captain, obviously a Super Rugby player, retired this year.
Yep.
What's the loss of Ruan how's that affected the club?
Listen, you've got I think everyone would say you can't replace a guy like Ruan Steenkamp. He came at us at a perfect time when we were in there, in that Division 1. What he did on the field, but even more so off the field, the leadership, the camaraderie that he forced, not in a bullying sense, but because of the guy, everyone just got behind him. The coaches were listening to him. He was taking such a great leadership role. And then, in effect, look at what happened. We got to the final the year after, we lost. The year after that, we did the double. And the success is still going on. We've just won the sevens. So,
yeah.
I mean, he was we helped him. He knows that himself. We're able to get him employment, and he's still doing really well in a local school. His family's expanding. His body's just taking too many hits. But listen, he still comes here. He loves the club. He's still acting a mentor for some of our guys. And I know even some of our older boys that are around the leadership group, they're still contacting him. So always going to be hard to replace him, but we're doing well.
Yeah, and there has been that leadership change. Martin Manguero has taken over this year.
Yeah.
What are the big differences in him as a leader compared to Ruan? Obviously, he's still one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
I love Martin. I think just watching him play is excitement, but he brings that joy to rugby as well. So what other differences does he make to the team?
Yeah, I think with Martin, obviously, he is an extroverted person. Ruan, whilst most people would see him as an extrovert, Ruan was a lot more introverted. He'd take his time. He would think and talk and make sure that he'd get clarity. Martin's still a young leader. He still gets a little bit excited and he'll just go for it. He's a tap and go guy, So on his day, and he's so exciting, not just for Hurricanes, but for the game here. We're all trying to grow it, the work that you're doing. Guys like Martin will get people to go and watch a game.
Yeah.
And it also he's become, not an overnight sensation, but he's probably the most popular person in all of UAE.
Yeah. Look, I don't know anybody from any team who doesn't love him or want to put a shot on him, for that matter. But no, he's fantastic. And it's good to see. And you're right, sometimes it is really hard for players who are the best player in the team. Maybe they're not a captain. Maybe they're not a great coach later.
Yeah.
You hear that it's not about some of those skills that make them a great player. Don't always transfer.
Yeah.
But I mean, he leads in his example that he sets on the field as well.
Yeah.
And Marcus would be the same, like coming through, showing that strength. He's grown through playing for the UAE and being around guys like your Matty Mills and your Andrew Semples and stuff like that. The last couple of years has probably really helped him develop that leadership skill as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it depends where you're at as a team as well. Sometimes you can pick a captain because you know they're reliable. They'll send the WhatsApp messages. They'll chase the guys to get themselves to training. They might not be the best player, but they're that club captain, as I would always sort of say them. Then you've got the guys that are the most strategic. Then you've got the guy who's the best player and can actually deal with the pressure. So there's no perfect answer. It depends on the guys you've got around you and where you're at as a team.
Yeah, and then coming together as a group with the coach. Now, your coaching staff, how did they come about joining the club, for the seniors anyway?
Yeah, so currently our men's head coach is Henry Paul. Obviously, insane CV and background pedigree. Supported by Evan Bukes. Evan's our forwards and defence coach. Unbelievable analytical brain. Extremely smart guy. And loves rugby, as well as Brian. Really good. I think I'm a better smoker. He's a better grill, quick cook. So we're constantly sending each other photos. He's there just for competition for me on the barbecue, basically. No, I'm kidding. How did it come about? So basically, Henry, when he was Dragons head coach, again, probably about 10 years ago, I just joined the Canes. We got on really well. He went away, did his stuff with Canada and elsewhere, called me up, just out the blue, mate, I'm coming back to Dubai. Is there any coaching jobs coming? At that time, an opportunity was about to become available. We always got on well. His family had developed. Obviously, he's had his second child now. Appreciates and respects the way that the club works. Great family man. Family comes first. Job second. Hurricanes third. He knows that.
Yeah.
And then the wider sort of coaching team that we've got. Flavio, who I mentioned before, he takes the 19s. Paul Jarvis, another really good, not up and coming, that's probably rude on him, but someone that we're thinking about long term for where he can get to with his coaching badges and his experience. Works in one of the top rugby schools out here. He's doing a great job with the second team. And then you'll know Vinny McLean, still playing for the Div 2, but he takes he's the coach for that team as well.
Oh, yeah. And I've played under Vinny myself back in the day.
Yeah.
And women's, Benji.
Yeah, Benji John. We had another chat with Benji just before Christmas, but unfortunately, he's just gone back for following his career dreams back to England. So at the minute, Benji's calling on some old favours from friends to come and help him out. So good lad Mike Lowry's down in Abu Dhabi today with Benji on the second team. And Benji's the DOR for the women's game. Dips into the Colts every now and again. But yeah, his hands are always busy looking after the girls and developing their game.
Yeah, and he is part of the UAE coaching team for the women as well. So that, All right, so let's talk about this season. A couple of blips for we're going to talk about West Asia Premiership, I should.
Okay.
A couple of blips, but the boys started the season. I thought they were going to have a bit of a double hangover from winning the double. They started out quite well. They beat the Dragons, they beat the Quins, then had a drop off, losing to the Sharks and Exiles. Probably games that were expected to win, and then a really tight contest with Bahrain at the end. So sitting third, what are your thoughts on how the season's going so far?
Yeah, listen, I think it's a pretty fair assessment what you gave there, and even the first two games that we did win, it wasn't pretty. We had to dig really deep to get them. As we learned from the year before, though, we can turn a team, we can turn a game. It was maybe just that mindset, especially after we lost the Exiles game. It was reminding the boys that anyone can beat anyone in this league. You know, I know Bahrain are undefeated at this minute. They're probably playing Sharks right now. But when they have to travel over, we lost to them by a point last half of the season.
Yeah.
A tough game. Again, we kicked in the last 10, 15 minutes, as we normally bloody do. But we learned some really tough and important lessons in that loss to Sharks and in that loss to Exiles. That we know maybe there was a bit of an arrogance around it, an expectation that we should win this game, so it's going to happen. It doesn't work that way. Anyone can beat anyone in this league. We've got a really tough task tonight. It's the first game back after a long break. We've got a really strong Queens team that I think are going to turn and surprise a lot of people this back half of the season. So we know it's not going to be an easy one tonight. We've got a really strong pack out that Queen's strength for me is their front five is really good. They're scrummaging probably against us, probably the best strong scrummaging team in the league. So we know we're going to have a big competition there. What we expect in the second half of the season, listen, it's a playoff competition, you know, it's about getting into the top four. For me, it's always been, and the way that the league's looking like now, don't finish fourth. Going to Bahrain is one of the hardest things to do, and to try and go and win there is even harder. So it's trying to make sure that we're in the top three. If we can get a home semi, great. If we don't, going to Abu Dhabi is less difficult than going to Bahrain in terms of organisation, structure, and not having to catch a flight and all that sort of stuff. So not on the field, I'm not being disrespectful to Quins. They're always a good fight. So, but you've got teams that are turning around, you know. Sharks are going to be confident now that they've got a couple of wins under the belts. Dragons last night beat Exiles, so they're back to winning ways. The Exiles team sheet that I saw earlier today, they pulled some guys back. So
they probably missed a few opportunities last night as well to take that game by the scruff of the neck. Just like last minute errors that you kind of thought they're probably similar to Hurricanes' errors against Exiles and Sharks, where they looked really good, but just the last pass wasn't. That probably happened a bit to the Exiles last night.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, everybody is still strong. And Doha is a very different kettle of fish to Doha in the UAE.
Yeah.
They struggle to travel. They struggle to get the guys. But in Doha, they can pop up and be a difficult team. So that's
I mean, they always have two different team sheets, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Their own team, what they put up. We went there last year. And it, again, tough place to go to. There's always the travel element, funny changing rooms, pitches there, you're watching behind your back for golf balls, etc. But we weren't pretty at all to begin with. We did enough to win that game. Then they came over here, completely different team. So hopefully for them again, because taking McCain's cap off at the minute, we need Doha to be strong.
Absolutely.
We need Exiles to remain competitive because we want to try and grow this. No one thinks of a 12-game season and is like, oh, that's amazing, that's what we want. We don't want that. You know, you look at Div 1 now. That Shaheen team that we played last week, they're ready for Prem.
So, if
they get the forwards in particular, if they pad it out with props, they're ready.
And the other one to look at in that division is probably the Tuskers.
Yep.
Fair few teams have forfeit against them because they do have the forwards and that power. So it'll be a very interesting contest between Shaheen and Tuskers but both probably should be making that jump next season, almost regardless.
We'd like to think so. And there's Tigers as well, who are always competitive. Again, I understand it, and I don't pressure anyone into it, because we had our front row issues. So I do understand it. But if we can try, if there's one club, for example, that's got 12 front rowers, right, for the good of the game, fellas, we need to start thinking about maybe we set up some loans, or let's just do a transfer, because then it means we get another Premiership team.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll take your Hurricanes hat off at the moment.
Yep.
You're also part of the rugby club management structure. What is the goal for you guys in helping keep the game steady, financially stable, and then growing it on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, everything you've said there. We've got to look after our own game first and foremost. Everything that we set up, like obviously we don't take the advice, we follow World Rugby, you know? It's not like other sports, we have to follow that federation or that entity in itself. So things are set in place there. What we've done now by having our own trade license is also control our own finances. We can control, in effect, our game a lot more. We still have to go to the federation, as we should do, because we follow that, for recommendations, for guidance. But a lot of the times, in terms of the scheduling, in terms of the payments, the coach education, the coach development, all of them sort of things, we're managing a lot better ourselves now. In terms of growing the game, making days like today as visible as we possibly can. You know, everyone wants to see a semi-professional, professional league in this part of the world.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing to have it on our doorstep. We're still, in my opinion, nowhere near it. And a lot of that does come down to finance. We need the finances to be in place for security. Yes, we've got, in effect, 7 Premiership, West Asia Premiership teams, but none of us could fund it ourselves. It's so hard. The money that we have to pay for these incredible facilities, don't get me wrong, but it costs us a shed load of money. And then there's the F&B prices, because we want to look after our own. We want to make sure when the Quins guys are coming up tonight that they get a feed, they get a drink after the game. I won't mention what type of drink, but we want to be good hosts, because that for me it's the fundamental foundation of the game. The old school mentality. If we go against each other for 80 minutes on the pitch and it's my home game, I'm buying you a beer afterwards, all right? So we want to hold that. But as far as the RCM goes, maintenance is really important. But we have to look, as we do, we have to look at other avenues, other external opportunities where people are interested to host finals days, to sponsor the event. And if we can get more finances in the league, we're able to look after the referees better. We've always got to look after them, because without them we can't play the game. We're able to hit the quite expensive fees of where the venues are, but then we can also support the teams that are just missing that little bit of an extra player that would put them into that game. I still think that we've got a big avenue for our under-18s across the board. I think if we can increase the education of the universities that are now available here. Every kid's sort of mindset is they get to 18 here and they have to leave. They have to go for a university abroad. There are so many universities here that have got the strong banner. They might, for example, I better not mention anyone. They've got the banner in the UK, okay, but they've got one here. You're still getting the same stamp. They've not had the experience of going away from home. I get that, but if I'm an under-18 rugby player, for example, and I'm eligible to play for the UAE, I can get my university, I can play for West Asia Premiership, and I can get a UAE cap. Perfect. That's what we need to start getting to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not, there are a lot of universities across that are from all countries. There's Australia, US, France, all of those are covered. So having the options for that degree and that education still exists here. So no, I agree fully on that. Like that, we need to start looking after and probably getting them into the UAE camps and things like that. The other thing that we've spoken about previously is like rep footy. That representative level just above the Colts. Probably for me, it's down to under 14s, but it can go younger as well, where you maybe have a North versus South and go, all right, the best 23, let's have a one-off or two-off game in throughout the season so they can play, they can learn to play with that little bit step up, like, and things like that. What are your thoughts on rep footy?
Listen, when I was working in schools, one of the biggest battles that I was getting was your 13, 14-year-old boy thinks that they're really good at rugby. I need to go to an independent school in the UK because that's where I'm going to get my rep. It's going to add to my CV down the line, etc. When I first started, it was probably true, to be honest with you. And listen, there is still the odd handful of kids here every now and again that probably are too good for this game where we are here. they need to go and get that challenge elsewhere. It's not for everyone, but I think at 13, 14 here, if we do start to imagine, like in England, we have like the counties.
Yeah.
If we can get the North versus Southern Emirates, we can get them games going. And then potentially we bring in Bahrain and Doha or Qatar. If we can start to get more of them selected things, it's giving the kid more opportunity, don't get me wrong, but it's getting them to a higher level, which is what they need. They do some great things at clubs, they do some great things at schools, but everyone wants to try and add to their CV, to their application.
Yeah.
And for their rugby development, it's the right thing. I know that there's going to be a DASA Select in February, March time, playing against Fabricia, so a touring team. Again, it's a representation. It's a Barbarians team. They've been selected, there's trials, they have to train together, and then they've got to go and play. Just that little thing that takes them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because I still think if it's a way to try and keep hold of kids here, because we've got an unbelievable setup here. We just need that little bit more competitive competition that creates that little bit more of an attractive package.
Absolutely. That buzz to get picked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Suddenly, I'll get to play rep footy. I get a bit of kit. I can show off to my mate. Look, I am feeling.
And that for me then is going to enable our UAE team to be stronger.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, again, I won't mention names, but we've got one boy, for example, who's playing for Great Britain Sevens. He left when he was 14, 15. And again, probably the right thing for him. But we've got kids that are going through our system that are really, they're playing Premiership now.
Yeah.
But they're going to get to the end of this academic year and they're going to leave. They're still eligible to play for the UAE, I understand that. But if we can keep them here, they train. We get selection camps that are available. They play some kind of friendlies or they're meeting to each other. The team synergy is going to form better. Then they're going to do better on the pitch. And that's the whole goal for this as well. We want the UAE at World Cups. We want them doing well in sevens competitions. Not just Asia, but let's aim for higher than that.
Yeah, there's a tournament here that's this weekend.
Exactly.
The 7-3 is playing this weekend. We would love to see the UAE in there. And I mean, Apollo's done a great job, but now someone needs to come in and take that over. And all these things are got to be considered as well.
And obviously, I'm not going to go. There's an uncertainty at this moment in time. I'm not going to spark any rumours or anything, but there's enough out there anyway that we're not knowledgeable of what situation we're in right now. So I get that we need to probably park it right this minute, but if I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, right, we've got 2 years now to really start something.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to have to start thinking about qualifiers and playing Hong Kong, for example, and we've got to go and beat Hong Kong to then get through to the World Cup qualifiers. Because there's no point in just sitting, the great work that Apollo and the Federation has done to get us onto the numbers that we're at right now. That's not been easy.
Yeah.
But we can't just sit there.
Absolutely.
We're rugby players, we're rugby fans. We want to keep it going and get as high as we can. So I'm hoping that there's a quick solution or a quick answer as to where we're at, what we're working with. Okay, let's get to work. Let's go develop it. Let's get that UAE flag on the massive global scale that it should be.
Yeah, and continue letting the UAE host events and things like that as well. Like bring rugby here on that show that they know it's not just a place for rugby players to go off and in their pastures, but be a place where rugby can grow. Europe's growing, Asia's growing. We really want to be a part of that.
Yeah. And again, if people do leave, the first thing they're thinking, it's not really worked out there, let's go back. And I want to go straight back to that club and I want to go and play and try and get some rep rugby as well with the UAE.
Yeah. All right, mate. We'll call it there. Thank you very much for the chat today. I know we did it last week and I stuffed up, so I appreciate it muchly. And then we'll battle it out and probably have a beverage after the game tonight.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike Werner, for that interview. Let's get into the wrap up of the weekend. Friday night was Exiles versus Dragons. I've said it before, Exiles showed some heart. They were a lot more competitive than they had been before the new year. Just a few crucial mistakes and a few silly penalties given away. They don't need to make those mistakes. So they just need to fix that and get their discipline in order. I mean, there were 5 yellow cards in this game. It felt like a lot. It felt like they were spending too much time. There was a scuffle and some other stuff happening. Don't know if it was worth it. The Dragons, yes, they got the win that they needed. Did they look convincing? Probably not. There's a lot more work to do. The difference between their best and their worst is huge at the moment, and when they're at their worst, anyone looks like beating them. or in their best, when they're at their best, looks like nobody could beat them. But their inconsistency with that, and then dumb penalties and stuff like that. I think they won a penalty, and then someone was shoving someone else on the ground to lose the ball for your team. I get that there's a little bit of heat out there, but is it worth putting your team at risk the whole time? Exiles did look like coming back towards the end for a win, so they probably made a couple of crucial mistakes. Dragons need to fix up that discipline, and even the arguing with the refs a little bit. I think one of the yellow cards, you clearly had your hands down on the ruck, and then you walked around the ruck, and then you got upset that you weren't given the penalty and you were given a yellow card. Just a bit of acknowledgement of your mistakes and a bit of understanding for the game. So that was the Friday night. Dragons won that, and it was 19-12, so a low-scoring affair. Bonus point for the Exiles for losing within 7. On the Saturday, Quins and Hurricanes. I was down at commentary, so that was a bit of fun. I did that with Grant as well for FFP Sports, for the Rugby Club YouTube. And that was a pretty tight affair. It was score for score early. Half-time, it was 10-all or 17-all. Both teams scored again after half-time. Then Hurricanes got a 2-try lead, and they looked like they were going to run away with it, and then they turned off. The Quins scored a couple of tries at the end there, but missed conversions, and that was the difference. And I think the Quins missed a penalty kick going into half-time, and then the Canes scored one at the end just to make it out to 7. So it was a close game. Quins, they looked really good. They're number 10. Pete Hasty, he was really good when he was on the ground, but when he came off, it seemed to slow down their backs. But what they didn't do well enough was probably earn the right to go wide. They were trying. It's almost like they're trying to win it off every single play, sending it out to the backs really early, not letting the forwards crash up. And maybe it's their pod system or something that they're not getting at the moment, but they need to get over the ball, get a couple of phases together before it goes out to the backs, and before the game breakers are trying to break too much. But yeah, that was hard, giving away a lot of possession, a lot of penalties as well. First half, their line-out and scrum were very mediocre, and that is unlike them. The Canes, on the other hand, there are glimpses of why they're a really good side, but then again, all their tries were scored off random bits of brilliance. Martin had an intercept early on. He did get chased down for the first time I've ever seen, but then Francois managed to break through a line-out. He got through his try. The winger on the end came through with one. There was a lot of interception type tries. Probably not enough of their game building towards tries. So they're kind of capitalizing on mistakes rather than earning the tries. So it's something to look forward to. And then obviously Sharks travelled to Bahrain for the third game. That was on Saturday. It was a bit of a massacre in the end on the scoreboard. Just watching it, and now I did watch it at 2 times speed because, well, I'm a busy man. But it looked like Bahrain were just getting over the gain line, pushing that ball with their forwards before letting their backs do their jobs. Couple of nice tries there for the Sharks, but 2 tries against 60 points is not really worth talking about. So they need to do a bit of soul searching because both Hurricanes and Quins previously have been very close to Bahrain. So if they want to be in that top end, then they need to lift because they were closer to Bahrain at the start of the season, but that was a bit of a hammering. Okay, so the table as it stands. We have Bahrain on top, undefeated, 7 from 7. Quins keep their position. They got 2 bonus points because they got 4 tries and within 7 against the Canes, so they managed to hold on to second. They're by a point. Then it is the Hurricanes. Then the Dragons leapfrog the Sharks to finish the top 4. And Sharks are 5th now with Exiles and Doha rounding out the bottom. Exiles did pick up another bonus point for the loss, so they're mattering at the moment. But the Sharks are only 2 games ahead of them, So Exiles do have a chance to win it this season, or to get back in it if they want to push. So they need to focus on that. All right, so we are going to look at our games that are coming up next week. All right, so on Friday night in the West Asia Premiership, down in the capital, we have Abu Dhabi hosting Bahrain. Now, this game could not be more important for the Harlequins. One, they have to win, for my mind. There have been a lot of tight affairs over the last couple of years with Bahrain that just don't know how to get over the line. This one is a must-win. They need to show that they can beat the top teams, especially if they're going to go into the finals and have to do it there. You want to start showing it beforehand. So it is a must-win game for them. Bahrain, we'll see what they travel like. It was good to see a few of the old Bulls back in their lineup. I think on their bench they had Gibbo, Matt McKee, and Alan Morris, who had all retired. So they were all back fighting. So we'll see who gets on the plane for Bahrain. And that game will be at Zayed Sports City. And then on Friday night, the Sharks are hosting hosting Doha, so Doha get to travel over. Now, this should be a game that Doha are targeting. I think they went 1-1 last year. If they are going to get an away win this season, this game has to be it for them. They need to come over strong, ready to go, and then put the pressure on the Sharks, who will be feeling it after last week. Obviously, the Sharks need to bounce back after the Bahrain game, and they need to get a convincing win. They need to look a bit more solid around the field. Just a few more mistakes, and they need to stop. They need to make some more defensive impact. Just stop the forwards getting over the gain line. That was a big thing that gave Bahrain their advantage. They need to stop Doha doing it. And then on Saturday, we have the Battle of the Sevens. Dubai Hurricanes are hosting the Exiles. That is at 3 p.m. So during the day, the Hurricanes will be hosting. It's their home ground, but against the Exiles. See if Big Taz and the boys can make a difference. See if the Hurricanes can bounce back from their previous defeat. This is one of the teams that beat the Hurricanes earlier in the season. They kind of switched off. Will they be switched on for this time? I'm sure Henry Paul will make sure of it. All right, in Div 1, our upcoming games. Quins are playing Bahrain, so there's 2 games on at 6 p.m. simultaneously at Zayed Sports City. Exiles are hosting Al Ain at the moment, and Tigers are hosting Tuskers, and that is all there to come. Now, I'm going to talk about the Tuskers for a second. They are 3 from 3, but really only played 1 game. They've had about 4 postponements. They look dangerous when they did play, but it'd be interesting what they can do now with how many games they've got to try and make it up. Because if you look at the Div 1 table, like some teams have played 6 or 7 games and they've still only played 3 with a few postponements. I'm not sure when all these games are supposed to be played, but Tuskers can't let anyone else postpone against them because the games are just they're never going to fit the games in, and it could cost them later on. Obviously, it's between them and Shaheen to win it, but the Tigers always come up good in the final, so we'll see. But maybe with their new sponsorship agreement with the UAE Rugby as well, maybe they will get more out of that. All right, so maybe they're looking at positioning. I think the Tuskers and Shaheen need to be in the Prem next year. All right, and in Div 2, there's 1 game. The Tigers are hosting Barrel House, 3 p.m. at Tigers Park on Saturday. And then there are some under 18 and under boys and girls games going on as well. So make sure you are there supporting your team. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That is the week wrapped up on Bruffy's Rugby Offload. Masalama, everybody, and thank you for tuning in.
This is rugby in the desert, heat waves collide. Abu Dhabi